Have you ever walked into your home and felt a heaviness in the air, like something unseen is weighing on you? You tidy up, light a candle, maybe open a window, but the feeling doesn't disappear. What if I told you that your home is not just a physical space, but a mirror of your inner world? In this video, we'll uncover something most people never realize. Your clutter, your furniture, and even your untouched corners may be silently reflecting your emotions, your fears, and your past. This is not about home decor or minimalist trends. This is about your soul, your healing, and your transformation. Inspired by the powerful psychological teachings of Carl Jung, you'll learn how everything from a forgotten drawer to a dusty mirror may be pointing to something deeper within you that's begging to be seen. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you won't just see your house differently, you'll see yourself differently. You'll be guided through practical steps, emotional insights, and real transformation techniques that can change not only how you live, but how you feel inside. Because when you change your space, you change your energy. And when you change your energy, you change your life. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. 1. The psychological meaning of your house. Have you ever stopped to truly look around your home, not just at the surface, but at what it might be saying about you? According to Carl Jung, our house is far more than bricks, walls, and windows. It is a profound symbol of the self, a mirror of our deepest identity, our unconscious desires, our fears, and even our pain. If your house reflects your mind, then I ask you, what is your home trying to tell you? Are there rooms you avoid because they stir up discomfort? Do you have closets full of memories from relationships that have long ended, yet still hold emotional power over you? What about corners filled with things you haven't touched in years, items that silently whisper of neglect, regret, or simply unresolved emotion? This isn't random. It's not just clutter. Every room, every object, every forgotten drawer in your home holds meaning. Each space is a symbolic extension of your inner world. And when you look closely, you may find that what you thought was just a mess is a message from your subconscious. 2. The shadow in your home, what you don't see, but deeply feel. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, the hidden parts of our psyche that we repress, ignore, or pretend don't exist. But here's the fascinating truth. Your shadow doesn't just live in your mind, it can live in your home. It shows up in the chaos, in the drawers stuffed with forgotten things, in the rooms that feel heavy and lifeless. Think of that one place in your house you never want to go into. Maybe it's a junk room, a dusty attic, or just a drawer filled with papers, trinkets, and broken things that have no use. Doesn't that space remind you of how we store emotional baggage? The unspoken pain, the unprocessed memories, the unresolved parts of ourselves that we tuck away so we don't have to face them. And yet, those hidden spaces still affect us. Emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. They drain our energy. They remind us, consciously or not, of everything we've left undone, unsaid, unhealed. If you're ready to begin healing your home and your heart, start with this small but powerful step. Choose one space that you've been avoiding. Walk into it slowly. Look around. Let yourself feel what arises. Ask gently, what does this place represent in my life? What emotion lives here? You might be surprised by what surfaces. 3. The energy of objects, how your belongings hold emotional weight. Jung also spoke about the collective unconscious, the idea that certain symbols, feelings, and energies are universally shared among us. This truth also lives in our homes. The objects we surround ourselves with aren't just things, they're energy. They carry stories, emotions, and sometimes wounds. Have you ever looked at an old piece of furniture and instantly felt sad, heavy, or even agitated, but couldn't quite explain why? Maybe it came from a hard season in your life. Maybe it was a gift from someone who is no longer in your life in a healthy way. We often think we're being practical by keeping these things. But what if we're keeping the emotional energy they carry? Negative energy lingers in old clothes, in gifts from people who hurt us, in broken furniture, or in objects tied to painful memories. And that energy speaks. It speaks when you walk into a room and feel tired for no reason. It speaks when you sit down and suddenly feel anxious or unsettled. So try this. Choose one object in your home that makes you feel uncomfortable, sad, or stuck, and let it go. Don't just toss it out thoughtlessly. Say goodbye. Thank you if you need to. Honor its place in your journey and then release it. And after you do, pause, breathe, observe how you feel. Does the space feel lighter? Do you feel lighter? You see, letting go isn't just about stuff. It's about reclaiming your peace, your clarity, and your energy. Your home can become a sanctuary, but only when it stops carrying the weight of everything you've outgrown. 4. The ritual of reconfiguration, giving new energy to your home. Jung believed that rituals are not just habits, they are sacred gateways to deeper meaning. You don't need incense or sacred chants. You don't even need a belief in religion. A ritual, at its core, is simply a symbolic act, a way of saying to the universe, I'm ready for change. When we perform rituals in our home, we're not just shifting furniture or lighting candles, we're shifting energy, both around us and within us. So how do we begin? Start with something simple. Open all the windows. Let the fresh air in. Let the old stagnant air, the emotional weight of yesterday, flow out. Stagnant air mirrors stagnant emotions. It's heavy and unmoving, and it builds silently over time. Then walk slowly through your home. Feel each space. Don't just look, listen to the energy. Is there a corner that feels dense? A room that feels forgotten? Take note. And then mark the beginning of renewal. You don't need expensive tools. Light a small candle. Move one piece of furniture. Place a plant in a lonely corner. Speak an affirmation into the air. This space is a reflection of my peace and mental clarity. You are declaring your intention. You are telling your home and your heart that something is changing. 5. Cleaning as an act of internal healing. We often think of cleaning as a chore, something tiring, something we put off. But Carl Jung taught us something deeply profound. Everything that irritates us about others leads us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. I believe the same is true about our homes. That messy drawer that stresses you out, the pile of clothes you keep saying you'll deal with later, the cluttered kitchen that never feels inviting. These are not just physical messes. They are emotional messages, echoing through your environment. If cleaning your home feels exhausting or frustrating, ask yourself, am I holding on to something I should have let go of long ago? Am I scared to make changes because deep down I fear the unknown? Do I feel like my life is out of control? And this mess is a reflection of that. These aren't just questions about brooms and dustpans. These are invitations to heal, to forgive, to release. Because when you clear your home, you also clear space within yourself. When your surroundings become lighter, your heart follows. It's not just transformation, it's liberation. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. 6. The power of colors and light in your home. Jung was fascinated by how colors affect the human soul. And it's true, each color speaks in a language our hearts instinctively understand. Look around your house. What colors do you see? What energy do they give off? White whispers clarity, simplicity, purity. It's like a gentle reset button, perfect for bedrooms, reading spaces, or anywhere you seek rest. Blue feels like a calming breath, serene, gentle, quiet. Let it wrap around spaces where you meditate, relax, or reflect. Green inspires renewal and growth. It's the color of nature, of new beginnings. Use it in areas where you want inspiration to flow freely. Red is fire. It burns with energy and passion, but be cautious. Too much red can fuel anxiety, especially in spaces meant for rest. Our home is our canvas. Every wall, every throw pillow, every curtain, they're brushstrokes of how we want to feel. If your home doesn't reflect peace, clarity, or joy, maybe it's time to repaint not just with color, but with intention. 7. Create a sacred space in your home. There's something incredibly healing about having a space that is just for you. Not for guests, not for work, but for your soul. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of introspection, of having a space where you can return to yourself. A place where the noise of the world fades and only your inner voice remains. Find a quiet corner in your home. It doesn't have to be big or fancy. Place a soft chair, a few candles, maybe a stone or crystal that grounds you. Add a framed photo that lifts your spirit, or a notebook where you can release your thoughts. This becomes your sanctuary, your retreat. A sacred place that holds only peace, only calm, only the truth of who you are. Even spending 5 minutes in that space each day can shift your energy. It reminds you that you are worthy of stillness, that your mind, like your home, deserves moments of grace. 8. Your home reflects what you carry inside. Carl Jung once said that what surrounds us is a reflection of what we carry within. That statement shook me the first time I read it, because it's painfully true. Our house isn't just a shelter. It's a mirror, a symbolic map of our mind. Those cluttered counters, they can reflect a cluttered mind. That room filled with forgotten boxes, it might be echoing with old emotions you haven't processed yet. And here's the hard truth. The longer we ignore the mess outside, the more disconnected we may become from what's happening inside. But the beautiful thing? You can change this. You can begin now. By noticing how your home feels, by asking why certain spaces make you anxious, by shifting things with intention, by choosing what stays and what needs to go, you begin the process of inner alignment. This isn't about making your house look perfect. This is about making it feel like a safe place to be yourself, to grow, to heal, to return to peace. Because when your home supports your spirit, every day becomes an invitation to come home to yourself. 1. Your house is a projection of the unconscious. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious mind doesn't just live inside us, it projects itself outward, speaking in symbols, images, and patterns. And one of the most powerful canvases for this projection, your home. Your home is not just a space, it's a story. A story your unconscious is trying to tell you. Every room, every forgotten corner, every object that gathers dust may be a reflection of something you haven't yet faced inside yourself. If there's a room in your house full of things you never use, consider this. Is it possible you're holding on to a version of yourself that you no longer need but haven't yet released? If you avoid a certain corner, maybe there's a memory, a regret, or a fear you've tucked away, hoping not to feel it. And if your home feels dark, heavy, or closed off, you might ask, is this how my mind feels too? Oppressed, anxious, stuck? Here's something powerful you can do. Walk slowly through your house, notebook in hand. Stop in every space and write down what emotions arise. Is there discomfort? Resistance? What's the first word that comes to mind? Then ask yourself, how do these spaces mirror how I feel in my life right now? The truth might be quietly hiding in plain sight. 2. The importance of the entrance of your home. In Jungian psychology, the entrance of your household has deep symbolic meaning. It's the threshold, the sacred space between your outer world and your inner one, between what is conscious and what is still hidden. Now look at your front door. Is it blocked by shoes, bags, clutter, or dust? Does it feel inviting or does it feel closed off? If you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected, this might not be a coincidence. A blocked entrance could be more than just a mess. It might symbolize assistance to new opportunities, a subconscious refusal to let new energy in. Try this simple yet powerful ritual. Clean your entryway completely. Sweep it. Clear the clutter. Then place something symbolic, a green plant, a candle, a wind chime, something that breathes new life and intention into the space. Every time you walk through that entrance, pause and breathe. Feel what it means to step into a space of openness. A clean, bright entryway doesn't just welcome guests, it tells your subconscious, I am ready to receive. 3. The bedroom, a reflection of your mental rest. Your bedroom isn't just where you sleep, it's where your soul goes to recover. It's the only space where your mind is allowed to unplug from the world, surrender, and process the deeper layers of your psyche. Jung taught that rest is not optional. It is essential for emotional healing. Without true rest, our unconscious can't integrate the things we experience. And when our mind can't integrate, we carry emotional tension like a weight on our shoulders. So ask yourself, what does your bedroom say about your inner world? Is it chaotic, filled with laundry, electronic distractions, dim lighting, or clutter that creates anxiety? The moment you walk in, does it feel like a sanctuary or like another unfinished task? Now imagine this. What if you made a small change today? Choose calming colors, blue for serenity and green for renewal. Remove the unnecessary items, the visual noise that overstimulates your senses. And please, if there's a mirror reflecting your bed, cover it or move it. Ancient wisdom tells us that mirrors can reflect stagnant energy into your sleep, disturbing your rest even without your conscious awareness. Your sleep is sacred, and transforming your bedroom is not just about aesthetics, it's an act of self-love, a declaration that you deserve peace. 4. The unconscious and inherited objects. Jung also explored the concept of the collective unconscious, the shared emotional and symbolic inheritance we carry from generations before us. Our homes, too, often carry echoes of this inheritance. Maybe you've kept objects passed down from your parents, grandparents, or distant relatives. A piece of jewelry, a family photo, a piece of furniture, or even handwritten letters. These things carry stories, some of them beautiful, some painful. But here's the truth. Some of these items hold energy that no longer serves you. Maybe that chair came from a family member who always made you feel small. Maybe that heirloom belonged to someone who lived through suffering, and somehow that emotional imprint lingers in your space. It's not superstition, it's energy. And your home absorbs more than you realize. Take a moment, look around at the oldest objects in your home. Touch them, close your eyes. Ask yourself, what does this carry? Does it evoke warmth or sorrow, love or burden? If something brings up feelings of sadness, resentment, or emotional fatigue, it may be time to release it, not with anger, but with reverence. Letting go of inherited energy is not a rejection of your history. It's a liberation of your spirit. It's saying, I honor the past, but I choose peace for my future. And in that choice, you break cycles, you release weight, and you create space for the life you deserve to live. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. 5. The kitchen and the flow of vital energy. The kitchen is so much more than a place to prepare meals. It is the heart of the home, the sacred space where nourishment is born, not just for the body, but for the soul. According to Jung, fire is a symbol of transformation, and nowhere in the home does fire perform a more powerful alchemy than here. In the kitchen, raw ingredients are turned into sustenance. In life, raw experiences are turned into wisdom. But what happens when the kitchen is messy, cluttered, or full of utensils you never use? It's not just about disorder, it could be a quiet sign that there's a lack of clarity, purpose, or emotional flow in your life. So here's a simple yet transformative act. Clean your kitchen with intention, not just to tidy up, but to heal. As you organize, repeat softly in your heart, "Just as I organize my kitchen, I organize my energy." This small ritual becomes a powerful message to your subconscious. You are reclaiming your power, clearing your confusion, and creating room for nourishment on every level. 6. Windows and mental clarity. Your windows are the eyes of your home, the passage through which light enters and your soul breathes. Symbolically, windows represent the connection between your inner and outer world, what you allow in and what you filter out. If your windows are covered with heavy curtains, layered in dust, or left closed in darkness, it may reflect something deeper, a mind clouded by fear, uncertainty, or mental fatigue. Open them. Let in the light. Let the sun wash over your space and your spirit. Feel the breeze whisper through the curtains like a breath of clarity through the soul. This isn't just about brightness, it's about perspective. Light invites new ways of seeing the world, and more importantly, yourself. Every morning when you open your windows, do so as an act of emotional renewal. You are saying, "I am open to growth. I am open to peace. I am open to light." 7. The living room and social expression. The living room isn't just a gathering space. It's the emotional center of your connection to the world around you. According to Jung, human beings must balance their individuality with their relationships, and your living room reflects how open or closed you are to others. If your living room feels cold, uninviting, or eerily empty, it may echo a deeper emotional truth that somewhere inside, you've distanced yourself from the connection. To shift this, don't think of it as redecorating. Think of it as inviting warmth into your life. Add soft lighting. Place photographs of moments that bring you joy. Choose colors that radiate warmth, like orange for energy or beige for grounding. Ask yourself, does this room invite laughter? Does it welcome presence? Does it reflect my openness to others? When your living room feels like a hug, your soul will start to open too. 8. The bathroom and the process of internal purification. The bathroom may seem ordinary, but symbolically, it is one of the most powerful spaces in your home. This is the place of cleansing, of renewal, where you wash away the physical, emotional, and energetic residue of what no longer serves you. If your bathroom is dirty, cluttered, or neglected, it may be mirroring an inner accumulation of emotional toxins, grief, regret, anxiety that haven't been released. So turn your next shower into a spiritual act. Let the water carry away more than dirt. Imagine it washing over your mind, your burdens, your hidden pain. Every drop is a whisper of release. Every rinse is a symbol of surrender. As you cleanse your body, say to yourself, "I release what no longer belongs to me." And feel the difference not just in your skin, but in your soul. 9. Create a symbolic altar at home. Jung deeply believed in the power of symbols, that objects can touch our psyche in ways that words never could. That's why throughout history, so many cultures have kept altars or sacred spaces in their homes. It's not about religion, it's about resonance. You need a place where your soul can pause and remember who you are. Choose a quiet corner and make it sacred. Place a candle as a symbol of light and hope. Add a photo that reminds you of your strength, or a small object that holds meaning for your journey. Keep a journal nearby. Let this be where your spirit speaks without judgment. When you feel lost, return to this space. Not to fix yourself, but to reconnect with yourself. Because sometimes all we need is a few minutes in front of a symbol that reminds us we are already whole. 10. Change starts from within. Jung said, "People do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You can repaint walls, rearrange furniture, buy all the candles on the shelf. But if you don't confront the energy beneath your home, the emotions, the memories, the shadows, you will only be decorating over pain." Transformation begins not with a trip to the store, but with a journey inside. Your home is not just your shelter. It is your mirror, It is your temple, and every change you make within it, made with awareness, is a sacred act of self-transformation. This is why, when we change our homes with intention, we change our lives. Ismail's story, a journey from neglect to awakening. Ismail had never thought much about his house. To him, it was just where he slept, stored things, and recovered from the grind of daily life. He didn't notice the layers of dust in the corners, or the boxes stacked high in the guest room. He never questioned why he left certain rooms untouched for years. He just kept moving, surviving, and existing. Until, one day, something inside him shifted. He began to wake with a strange pressure on his chest. The air felt heavy, as though something unseen was sitting on top of him. He felt watched, even though he was alone. And the dreams, they became more frequent, more unsettling. Always the same, a shadow standing silently at his bedroom door, motionless, watching. At first, he dismissed it as stress, fatigue, just like catching up. But the truth was, his soul was crying out for change. And that cry would take him on a journey not just through the rooms of his house, but into the deepest corridors of his own heart. At first, Ismail brushed it off. He told himself it was just stress, too many late nights at work, too much noise in his head. Maybe he just needed a break, a vacation, something to clear his mind. But the discomfort, it didn't go away. It grew. And then, it started showing up in his life in ways he couldn't ignore. His boss, usually understanding, began to criticize everything he did. His closest friends slowly stopped replying to his messages, drifting away like smoke in the wind. Then came the moment that shattered the illusion. One quiet afternoon, he came home and saw a letter waiting for him on the kitchen table. It was from his partner. The handwriting was shaky and hesitant, but the words were clear. "I can't stay here anymore. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like this house is suffocating me. I feel empty when I'm here." Ismail stood frozen. A chill swept through him, the kind that touches not just your skin but your soul. He read the letter again and again, trying to make sense of it. How could it be the house? It was just walls, furniture, wood, and paint. Just space. Or was it? Deep down, he had felt it too, that invisible heaviness, that strange stillness in the air, as if something was quietly draining the life out of the space and out of him. That night, something stirred inside him. A whisper, a nudge. He made a decision, a small one, but it felt monumental. He would look at the place he called home. Slowly, he walked through each room, step by step, like walking through a forgotten museum of his own life. Dust coated the photo frames. Light bulbs had burned out and never been replaced. Mirrors were fogged, dull, as if they hadn't reflected light or truth in years. Some doors hadn't been opened in months. Behind them, boxes from another life, clothes that no longer fit, memories he wasn't ready to touch. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment on number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Then, a line from a Jung book he once read rose in his mind like a wave. What we avoid on the outside is often what we avoid inside ourselves. It hit him with force. What if this wasn't just a house? What if this was his inner world, projected outward? What if the neglect in these rooms mirrored a deeper emotional neglect within himself? He couldn't ignore it anymore. He pulled on a sweatshirt, grabbed a trash bag, and began to clean. But this wasn't just tidying up. This was an emotional excavation. Every item he touched carried a memory. A photo from a vacation long past, clothes that once belonged to someone who was gone, a letter filled with words that now felt empty and far away. And at the very bottom of a forgotten drawer, he found something he hadn't seen in years, an old diary. The handwriting was his, though it looked shakier, younger, vulnerable. He opened it, and it was like unlocking a part of himself that had been sealed shut. Page after page, he read thoughts he had long buried. He read about fears of abandonment, about the ache of not being heard, about how hard it was for him to say what he felt. Every sentence was a mirror held up to his soul. The air in the house suddenly felt heavier, thicker, but this time he understood why. He wasn't being watched by something outside. He was being seen by himself, by his shadow, the part of him he had avoided, the part that had always been waiting. He kept going. He threw out what no longer belonged, not out of anger, but with reverence. He rearranged furniture and let light pour into rooms that had been trapped in darkness. And with each object released, he felt a part of himself loosening, lifting, breathing. And then the true test, the one room he had always avoided. It had been closed for years. He hesitated, hand on the doorknob, heart pounding. He opened it. The air was thick and stale, curtains shut. The bed was still unmade. Everything was layered in dust, like time had stopped. And there, in the center of the room, sat an old table. On top of it, a mirror covered in cloth. His breath caught in his throat. Something deep inside told him, uncover it. With trembling hands, he pulled the cloth away. And there he was. His reflection stared back through the dirty glass, blurry, distorted, unfamiliar. He wanted to look away, but he didn't. Not this time. He kept looking. And in that moment, he understood what Jung meant when he said, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This room wasn't haunted. He was haunted by his silence, his denial, his own shadow. But now he saw it, and something inside him began to awaken. That night, for the first time in what felt like years, he slept peacefully. And in the morning, he woke up different. He couldn't explain it. There were no flashing lights or spiritual visions, but there was a lightness in his chest, as if something had finally been released. The house hadn't changed overnight, but his eyes had. As he made coffee, he looked around the kitchen. Corners that once faded into the background now caught his attention. There were dishes he hadn't touched in years, a wall clock that had stopped at 3:42 months ago, and he had never bothered to fix it. He stared at it. How many things in his life had stopped, and he hadn't noticed? The stillness in the house was no longer suffocating. It was sacred, and deep within him, a quiet voice whispered, now, the real transformation begins. How many things in his environment had quietly mirrored his indifference to his inner world? That question echoed in Ismail's mind like a whisper from within, gentle but unrelenting. He thought of the mirror in the forgotten room, the way it had startled something in him, the strange pull he felt when he uncovered it, as though a part of him that had long been buried finally had a face. A blurry, weary face, his own. He felt drawn to go back there to stand before that reflection again, but this time not as a stranger. He entered the room slowly. The air was still heavy, but less oppressive than the night before. He approached the mirror and, instead of flinching, he stood steady. This time, he didn't avoid his gaze. He studied the image before him, not just the eyes, but the depth behind them, the fatigue, the longing, the years of avoidance etched into a single glance. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of us we reject, the desires, fears, and truths we repress, because they don't align with the image we project to the world. And in that moment, Ismail saw it. That reflection, tired, yet present, was his shadow, staring back, not with malice, but with a plea. See me, accept me, I am part of you. Suddenly, memories began to surface. His childhood, his adolescence, those moments when fear had swallowed his voice, when guilt had made him small, when anger had gone unexpressed. He realized how much of himself he had sacrificed to appear okay. He had built a version of himself that the world would approve of, but in doing so, he had silenced parts of himself that needed love the most. He took a breath, trembling but grounded, and whispered, sigh, see you. The room didn't shift. No lights flickered. No shadows moved. But something profound happened within him. A wave of emotion surged, tears that hadn't been given permission before. Regret, release, relief. He didn't run from it. He let it wash over him. And then he continued. He spent the rest of the day returning to the process he had started the night before, not just cleaning, but consciously engaging with every object. He held things in his hands and asked, "Why do I still have this? What does this say about the version of me I've been holding on to?" At his desk, he opened a drawer filled with forgotten papers, old meeting notes, failed plans, and fragments of ideas that once held promise. Then he found something that made his breath hitch, a notebook. It was one he had filled with dreams, goals, and wild ideas he once believed in. Plans to start a project, to write a book, to pursue something meaningful. He had forgotten. Page after page, he read words written by a younger, braver self. A self that had hoped, a self that hadn't yet been silenced by routine, fear, or the pressure to conform. Frustration bloomed in his chest. When had he stopped dreaming? When had he let the fire die out? He remembered Jung's words, "The self is the totality of who we are." But Ismail realized that he had fractured that totality, left pieces of himself behind, hidden under years of excuses like, "I don't have time, maybe later, it's not the right moment." But now, he saw the truth. It had never been about time. It had always been about fear. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment on number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. He lit a candle and placed the notebook gently on his desk, not as a relic of the past, but as a promise to himself. "I still have the power to rebuild my life," he thought. Not from scratch, but from the pieces of himself he was finally reclaiming. That night, he dreamed again. In the dream, he stood in his house, but this time, he was not alone. There, in the hallway, the very same hallway where he had always felt a presence, stood his reflection. Not in a mirror, not in the glass, but in the flesh, separate from him. Yet, somehow him. The figure didn't speak. It only looked at him with quiet, knowing, the same depth, the same tiredness, but also with a flicker of peace. This time, Ismail didn't feel afraid. He felt curious. He stepped forward and asked gently, "What do you want to tell me?" The reflection smiled softly and replied in his voice, "I've always been here." Ismail woke up with a start. His heart was pounding, not from terror, but from truth, from recognition, from awakening. It hadn't been just a dream. It was a message from the part of himself he had finally allowed to speak. He got out of bed, walked straight to his desk, and opened the notebook. His hand trembled slightly, but his spirit was steady. And with a clarity he hadn't felt in years, he began to write. The walls of his house hadn't changed. The floors were the same, but something in the air was different because he was different. He realized that his internal transformation had changed the way he saw everything around him, and in return, his surroundings were beginning to breathe with him, not against him. But he knew there was one last step. He had to act. The next morning, Ismail woke with a sense of urgency. His body was restless, but not with anxiety, with purpose. For the first time in a very long time, he felt alive. He sat at his desk, placed his hand on the notebook, and looked at the words he had once abandoned. They weren't random scribbles, they were fragments of his soul. The voice of a self he had buried, the real self, the one who had waited patiently through the years of silence. And now, it was time to bring that self back to life. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the sacred, often painful journey in which a person becomes whole by integrating every part of who they are, the light and the shadow, the joy and the pain, the past and the possibilities of the future. Ismail now understood, with raw clarity, that until this moment, he had not truly been living as himself. Not fully. He had been a fragment, a version shaped by what others expected of him, layered in masks of politeness, performance, and self-denial. He had walked through life wearing a disguise that even he had started to believe was real. But now that illusion was crumbling. He sat at his desk, picked up a pen, and stared at a blank page. With a trembling breath, he wrote, "Who am I?" The question didn't just sit on the paper. It landed in his chest. It pierced through layers of distraction and ego and hit something raw, something sacred. He looked at the words, feeling their weight, their honesty. Never before had he dared to ask himself this so directly. And now that he had, there was no turning away. He closed his eyes, and the dream from the night before came rushing back. The reflection had said, "I've always been here." That presence in his dreams, in the hallway, in the mirror, it was never something to fear. It was his essence, the part of him he had buried beneath fear, beneath the need to fit in, to survive, to please. That version was his purest self, the self that had been patiently waiting for him to come home. He rose and walked toward the forgotten room once again. The mirror stood uncovered, waiting. He looked into his own eyes, searching, not judging. He wasn't just looking at a man with tired eyes and messy hair. He was looking at a man finally ready to see the truth. Jung had said that the shadow is not something evil, but something unloved. It holds the emotions, desires, and truths we've locked away, afraid they'll make us unworthy. But when acknowledged, when welcomed, it becomes a bridge back to wholeness. And that's what Ismail was doing, not cleansing his house, but cleansing his soul, letting go of what no longer served him, making space for what he had long abandoned, reclaiming the pieces of himself he had once thrown into the attic of memory. He felt the need to step outside. After days of deep introspection, of wandering his inner halls, he needed air, new scenery, a world to see with fresh eyes, and everything looked different. The city, once grey and heavy, now shimmered with new life. He noticed the way sunlight danced on the glass of tall buildings. He heard the soft crunch of leaves beneath his feet, the wind singing through the trees. He saw faces of strangers, but somehow they felt human in a way he hadn't noticed before. He stopped at a little cafe, ordered a coffee, found a seat by the window, and for the first time, he pulled out his notebook, not to plan, not to dream, but to write about the now. His pen moved slowly at first, then more confidently. "Today I realized something," he wrote. "My house was never the problem. I was. I became a prisoner of my thoughts, my fear, my excuses. But now I see it's not about changing the outside world. It's about changing how I see it." As he wrote those words, a wave of relief flowed through him, gentle but powerful. As if with every line, a bit more of the old weight was released. As if each truth written on the page made space for more peace inside him. Jung once said that true transformation happens when we can finally see ourselves without fear or judgment. And Ismail understood now. He didn't need to search for answers out there. They had always been inside him. He just had to listen. He walked back home with a different energy, grounded, soft, sure. The walls, the floors, the colors, they were all the same. And yet, they felt alive now. Not just because of how they looked, but because of how he had changed. Inside, he wanted to mark this moment. He searched his drawers until he found a white candle, simple, clean. He lit it in his room and sat down in front of it. The glow flickered softly, dancing across his walls like quiet hope. He took a deep breath and said aloud, "I declare that this space is a reflection of my new clarity. Everything that no longer serves me, I release. Everything that strengthens me, I welcome." There was no magic in the air, no supernatural flickers of light. And yet, it was one of the most sacred moments of his life. Because this wasn't about mysticism. It was about intention, about making a quiet vow to himself to live fully, honestly, and consciously. That night, the dream returned, but this time, there were no shadows, no watchers, no unease. He stood in his home, still, present, calm, and something was different. Every door and every window was open, letting the sunlight in. Light touched the walls, the air moved freely, everything breathed. And so did he. When he woke up, he knew his process was nearing completion. There was only one last step, and it would change everything. Before dawn, Ismail opened his eyes. No alarm, no noise, just a silent knowing that this day was different. He lay still for a few minutes, feeling the deep quiet of his home. But it wasn't the heavy kind of quiet, not the suffocating silence he once knew. This stillness felt peaceful, clean, as if the house, like him, had been washed in light. He rose slowly and walked from room to room with presence and gratitude. Everything was the same, and yet it wasn't. Or maybe, for the first time in years, he was truly seeing. He stopped at the door to the forgotten room. It was half open, revealing the mirror inside. There was no fear, only a strange, beautiful peace. The night before, he had dreamed that his house was no longer a maze of shadows, but a space full of light. And in that light he had met versions of himself. A little boy playing on the floor, a quiet teenager staring longingly out the window, a young man lost in a book, searching for meaning. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They all smiled at him, and in that smile, he saw it. He had been the one keeping himself trapped in his past, in unspoken grief. In the memories he refused to feel. In the dream she had abandoned. But now, he was free. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment on number 5 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Take a moment to breathe. Now that you've journeyed through the story of Ismail, through the forgotten corners of his house and his heart, I want to ask you something important. What did you discover about yourself today? Was there a room in your own home that suddenly came to mind? A drawer? A mirror? A feeling you've been avoiding? The truth is, this wasn't just Ismail's story. It was yours too. It was all of ours. We all carry shadows. We all carry dreams we once buried. We all have spaces, physical and emotional, that are begging for light, for breath, for acknowledgement. So tell me in the comments below, what is one thing you've learned from this video that you will carry forward in your life? It could be a new perspective on your home, a ritual you want to try, or simply the courage to face what you've been avoiding. I want to hear it. Let this be a space where we share, heal, and grow together. And if this message touched your heart in any way, if you felt seen, stirred, awakened, please do me this favor. Leave a comment below. Click that like button. Share this video with someone who needs it. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss another moment of transformation. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning. You are the light. You are the home. And you are the healer you've been waiting for. Until next time, may your house and your heart always feel like a place you can return to with peace.